In this episode of CityBilly Adventures, I'm going to show you how to drywall over these basement support posts. Stay tuned. My wife and I grew up in the suburbs of Northeast Ohio, and we started our family there too. Then a few years ago, we stumbled into this dilapidated estate property that just had way too much potential to pass up. Follow along as we DIY our way through creating our dream estate, one project at a time. A wise man once said, "You're from the city, but you like hillbilly things." You're a CityBilly. So we're currently working on turning this windowless room in our basement into a movie theater. This room has two steel posts supporting the floor joists on the main level. Today we're going to wrap these posts in plywood so I can drywall over them. Now we're hoping to squeeze 4 theater chairs between these two posts, so the goal is to take up as little space as possible with the casing. Now depending on the look you're going for, you could just wrap the posts in 1x material and call it a day. But this room isn't going to have any other wood accents, so we're going to cover the posts in drywall instead. I'm going to use 1/2-inch plywood to wrap the column, and then I can screw drywall directly to the plywood. So the first step in wrapping these posts is to determine their diameter. You could use math and use the circumference of the post to find the diameter, but I was passing notes to the future Mrs. CityBilly when they covered that in school.
Oh, hot.
So I'm going to use a couple pieces of scrap plywood to get a rough diameter. I brought an extra set of hands and pressed 3 pieces of plywood against the post. I marked the edges of the 2 sides and came up with 3 inches in diameter. I ripped 2 3-inch strips of 1/2-inch plywood on the table saw. I'll sandwich this piece in between 2 3.5-inch strips. That extra 1/2 inch allows me to glue and brad nail the pieces together. When the glue dried, I dry fit the wraps on the metal posts. I didn't leave much wiggle room in my measurements, so it's a pretty snug fit already. But to really hold these boards securely in place, I'm going to add a generous amount of construction adhesive to the inside of the plywood. This is the time to make sure that the plywood is square with the rest of the room. And the last step is to attach the 4th side of the plywood. I cut this piece 4 inches wide to account for the 2 1/2-inch sides. This is also where I realized that maybe a little math would have been helpful. Or at least I should have left myself an extra 1/8 inch of wiggle room in my measurements. So I ripped some 1/8 inch strips and glued them in place as I added the final side. I added more construction adhesive and secured it with wood glue and brad nails. Now I'll give the adhesive 24 hours to dry, and I'll come back tomorrow and attach the drywall. Make sure to avoid screwing into the center of the column so your screws don't hit the metal post. And that's it. Now all the drywall is up and Mrs. CityBilly can get to work mudding and taping. Keep an eye out for our full movie theater build, which will hopefully be out soon. And thanks for watching.